Oh, we all saw that game Monday night against the Rams. It was a complete debacle, wasn't it? We all agree on that. We all kind of know what went wrong. Every one of us, we all watched the game, right? Is not the Ram game a repeat of what happened to us against Detroit on the prior week, last game of the regular season? I'm just going to say this. Pete Bercich of Sports Now, Channel 9, on the Sports Now late night Viking talk show, they come on after the games. They interviewed Pete Bercich. He's an analyst on the show. And he said, right after that Detroit loss, the Vikings have to get this fixed and fixed quick because the NFL is a copycat league. A copycat league. So don't think the Rams aren't going to look at that Detroit tape and do the same thing. Well, fast forward to this last Monday against the Rams, and the Rams did exactly that. They copied what Detroit did. They shoved a whole bunch of people on us quick. Put the pressure, a lot of people rushing, did man-on-man, and it worked. And the score is virtually the same, 31-9 against Detroit, 27-9 against the Rams. Yeah, so what Detroit said, Aaron Glenn, they interviewed him after that Detroit game. They said, we figured out that if we put pressure on Sam Darnold, he hangs on to the ball a long time. If we put pressure on him, he'll hang on too long. We can get to him before the Viking receivers have enough time to separate from our cover guys. And that's exactly what happened in the Rams game, too. Right? So the question becomes, why were they able to get so much pressure? Well, if you look at the Ram game, we got 6 pressures on Matthew Stafford. They got 24. What's the difference? Somehow their line picked up we have the same kind of defense as the Rams were trying. We blitz a lot, run people out, bring people in a lot. And for the most part, the Ram offensive line or blocking scheme picked our guys up. Yet on the other side of the ball, with 24 pressures and 9 sacks, obviously our line did not pick up that Ram pressure type of thing. What's kind of surprised me, especially after the Detroit game, and especially since our offense has been practicing against our defense all year long, way back to training camp. So they should know how better to block, right? And Kevin O'Connell said as much. He goes, our offensive line, our interior, they didn't get, basically I'm paraphrasing, they didn't get the job done and we need to make a change. So we'll see what happens next year. And then he also went on to say, again, paraphrasing, we have checkdowns. We have to get the ball out quicker to those checkdowns when there's a lot of pressure on us. Because a completion has a negative effect on the defense, and we didn't do that. And, of course, that's on Sam Darnold. If we're doing these longer, drawn-out plays, which is what O'Connell's calling, KOC's calling, and they take time to develop, and if they ain't working and the pressure's coming, we got to get a quick check down. Everybody knows that, including Darnold, and he didn't do that. But not all the blame, like I said, can be on Darnold. Let's look at the coaching. Let's look at our offensive line. So a couple times we did some designed short plays to Aaron Jones, who I thought they should have thrown to more, or even C.J. Ham or Oliver, and those work. So the question is, I think what's happening is KOC is calling these kind of long developing plays, and if Darnold gets under pressure, he's supposed to go to the check down, which he isn't doing. So maybe one coaching thing that could have been done is, by design, call more short plays, slants, flare-outs. Give Darnold some help. I know he should be doing checkdowns, but on the other hand, he was on the Detroit game, he was under pressure 48% of the snaps and probably 44%. I don't know what the actual number is for the Rams. So he's always running for his life, and he's got to make these quick these decisions. And, yes, he's hanging on to that darn ball way too long. Check it down, or KOC could have called shorter plays, flare-outs, screens. Use Aaron Jones as a fourth receiver like the Rams did with Kyren Williams at times, and it worked for them. It should work for us. So this is nothing new kind of thing. But we'll see what happens next year. On the on the defensive side of the ball, in neither game I can totally blame our defense, although we do give up some big plays. Seems like we have trouble when we rush guys. There's no one covering the middle. And do we need to always rush? If you look at the Rams in Detroit, well, let's take the Ram game. McVay's game plan to begin with, he knew we're going to put a lot of pressure on Stafford. So they designed short plays to get the ball out quick. That's why only 6 pressures. Detroit, for the first half, we shut them down, but in the second half they made those adjustments, got the ball out quicker. Screens, flare outs, short passes, crossing patterns, flared out to the running back, and it worked, kind of thing. And yet I felt our defense did not always adjust and kept rush type of thing when I thought we should have maybe put a guy back. And a couple of times in the Detroit game and even the first Rams game, we left a few more people as defensive backs covering receivers, and we stopped them cold. But then we went back to rushing all the time. So there's an improvement we can make on defense. But these last 2 games, the defense did great for about 3.5 quarters in the Detroit game, but there's only so much they can do. And again, I mean, I think the offense is responsible. We know at least 7, but more like 10 to 14 points on the offense. And there's only so much the defense can do. Well, on to next year. So we have an intriguing quarterback situation. Darnold, J.J. McCarthy's waiting in the wings, and we have Daniel Jones. So do the Vikings re-sign Darnold? Do they let him go? I know one thing they're going to want to see is more of that short stuff and go to check down. So can they get that out of Darnold? Do they believe they can get that out of Jones or McCarthy? Do you let McCarthy start right away? Do you keep Darnold on a smaller contract because he's probably not going to get as big a money as before? Do you have an open competition? Could Jones take over for a while and ease in McCarthy? These are questions KOC and company is going to have to answer. And I'm curious to see what KOC, when he says something's got to be done about the interior of the line. Well, that means Blake Brandel, Garrett Bradbury, and Dalton Reisner. So let's see what they do. Anyways, that's my 2 cents worth. Hang my head. Not this year, next year. Bring up a point here again. Pete Bercich said the NFL is a copycat league. Well, here's a picture of A.J. Brown with his book, right? Well, indeed, the NFL is a copycat league. I agree. Later.